I think we can call the Chicago Blackhawks a dynasty here, right? 3 Stanley Cups in 6 years, which is actually a rarity. We have a chart that shows how infrequently this happens. It's from 538.com, and it's not often that NHL teams can win back-to-back titles or even multiple championships within 3 seasons. Al, what is Chicago doing right that no one else can?
They've done a great job of building through the draft and obviously finding some diamonds in the rough all over the world. You look at some of their young European players who are soon to be superstars. Chicago's done a great job across the board.
Al, this is not a question where a sports franchise has to be in the top tier necessarily of those who have the most money. Some organizations just have a player personnel unit that knows how to do it the right way. Talk to us about what the Chicago Blackhawks have been doing in terms of developing players.
I think the Blackhawks kind of maybe took a page from the Detroit Red Wings from a few years ago, which they went really hard on the scouting and building their scouting department, and also on the development side. They've done a great job with their minor league players. With the system, the cap system that we now have in the league, there's so much parity between the teams, and you're right, the money doesn't really drive it anymore. It's more about player development and being able to scout these players when they're 17, 18 years old, and be able to project the future and what they're going to turn into once they get to the NHL.
Well, the American franchises have seemingly done better than that because a Canadian team has not won the Stanley Cup in over 2 decades. How is the volatility in the Canadian dollar versus the U.S. dollar affecting these teams' abilities to stay competitive?
I think on the competitive side, the system that we have in the NHL is a strong one, just because we have revenue sharing for the lower medium market teams. The Canadian dollar obviously did not help this year, affecting revenues by, I'd say, almost $400 million within the league. So obviously a strong dollar helps the league across the board, but also helps the players on the salary side. But as far as the competitive nature of how the currency affects the competitive nature of the league, I would say that it really doesn't, because we've built the system now with our cap system at 50-50 between the players and the owners, where being a Canadian market team really does not affect you very much.
Okay, well, speaking of currencies, I want to stick with that idea because the Russian ruble's collapse also means that star players in the KHL, Russian's professional hockey league, are now returning to the NHL, reversing this migration from a few years ago when Vladimir Putin's goal of building a pro league in Russia attracted a lot of talent. What level of interest do you see from your clients in playing for a Russian team?
There's still quite a bit of interest for top-end minor league players, or maybe some NHL players towards the end of their career wanting to go play in the KHL. There are some teams who are still paying very well, and some teams are collaring the ruble and guaranteeing U.S. dollars. So that's helped kind of stop the bleeding on that side. But there are a few teams that have gone under in the KHL. And, it's obviously not easy to make money with those teams over there. But right. I really believe that the KHL ownership, those are more vanity projects than them trying to look at making some kind of a profit with the pro sports team over there.
Al, we have about 30 seconds left. I have to ask you, pro hockey players, they are the least paid from the 4 major sports. Are we going to see that change anytime soon?
I think it will change. With our system now, once we hit $4 billion in revenue, we have to find some new sources of revenue, which is either going to be expansion or maybe going overseas and finding some new dollars. But the positive on the hockey side is we have guaranteed contracts, which some other leagues don't have.
Right.
But I agree. I think we're due for a little increase. Speaking from the agent's perspective.
Not that you have anything to do with that, right?
Not
all right. Al Rob, thank you so much.